Certainly. Good evening. Mr. Kazire.
Present.
Mrs. Greiner.
Present.
Ms. Hardiman.
Present.
Ms. Myers.
Present.
Dr. Ozello.
Present.
Mr. Peters.
Present.
Mr. Tripp.
Here. If you would all join me for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. That brings us to approval of the agenda. Is there a motion?
I move that the board approves the agenda as presented.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next, we have approval of the minutes for the work session and regular business meeting of September 24th of 2024. Is there a motion?
I move that the board approves the minutes from the work session and regular business meetings of September 24th, 2024, as presented.
I will second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next up, we have public participation. So opportunity for members of the public to address the board regarding agenda items. We have one member of the public here. Would you like to speak? Okay. Seeing as we have no public, we're moving on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Murillo.
Thank you, Mr. Tripp. This evening, I'd like to ask Dr. Matthews to join me at the podium. Our first report this evening will be on our fall 2024 NWA MAP results. This is always kind of an annual report we do for the board every year after we get our first fall baseline scores. And so I'm excited to share with you our results and as we look forward in our next steps after receiving them. So Dr. Matthews, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Murillo, and good evening again.
Good evening.
It is my pleasure to provide you an update on our baseline for the 2024 school year in terms of our NWEA MAP results, or the measures of academic progress. I always like to start with just an overview as a reminder about what NWEA MAP is. This is a norm-referenced assessment that is administered 3 times per year. In the fall, we just completed that assessment window. We will assess again in the winter in January, and then again in the spring in May. And we assess the areas of reading and math in grades K-11, and then science in grades 5-11. This truly does provide a roadmap for teachers and administrators as we look at this data at the district level, at school level, at grade level, and classroom level, and then down to even the individual student level to be able to make decisions to support their needs. And we look at this in terms of overall performance or achievement, and then also individual student growth. As a reminder, this work is directly aligned to District Strategic Goal 1, which is to improve academic achievement. And these are the revised targets we shared with you previously related to our strategic goal updates. We are going to continue to look at this data in 3 ways, with the inclusion of science in all 3 of these metrics. So that is the change this year. We are looking at students scoring in the average, or high band in math, reading, and science. And our goal for the end of this school year is to have 65% of our students in all 3 of those top bands in all 3 content areas. We also look at the individual growth targets for each student, and the true measure is fall to spring based on NWEA recommendations, but we do check fall to winter as that mid-year point, and our goal is to have 60% of those students meeting those growth targets. And then finally, because we believe in the growth of every student and their ability to achieve, we have a goal of 100% of students demonstrating some growth in all 3 areas. We will begin tonight by looking at our math data, and the percentage of students in those top 3 bands in the area of mathematics is 55.3% as our baseline. This is a change of just 1/100% from where we were last fall, so we are starting in a very similar place. We had 55.29% of our students in those top 3 bands a year ago. Looking at the longitudinal data, we began all the way back in the spring of 2018 on the far left, and then we are showing those dotted points are each assessment window since then. So starting with that spring, and then we go fall, winter, spring, all the way to our most recent in fall 2024. You can see that is a pretty steep drop from where we ended in the spring, but you can also see it is right in line with where we are in the fall, and we know that this is our foundation and it is our baseline. And if you recall last fall, we had lower results than we expected in the area of mathematics as well, and that was due to the change in algorithm with NWEA MAP, where now students are tested on grade level material even in the beginning of the year, regardless of their RIT band. So they're being tested on material they have yet to be taught. And so this is not abnormal to see this lower result in the fall. And then as they are exposed to that grade level content throughout the year, we expect to see that percentage inch up again in winter and then in spring as we did last year. Looking at the performance by grade level, we start with kindergarten all the way on the left, working through to 11th grade, and then the district average on the far right. Again, this is our baseline for math performance at each grade level, and it is relatively consistent to what we saw last year with these new algorithms. This fall test is exposing them to that new material, that new grade level, and I want to really point out a bright spot here with 9th and 10th grades. They are starting with their highest percentages of students in the top 3 bands since we began administering MAP in 2018. So we're very excited about that strong start and seeing that they have that strong foundational knowledge to really progress this year throughout the year. Putting this teal line on the graph shows how each class of students performed in the fall of 2023 laid over their 2024 performance. So this is looking at that cohort data. When you look at the distance between that purple bar and the teal line, you can see the difference in performance for that group of students from the previous year. So some celebrations to note, again, that 9th grade cohort had the greatest increase for cohort and for grade level for the 2nd consecutive year. Very excited about that. You can see 7th through 10th grades all had increases as well in that cohort, and then 8th through 11th grade had grade level increases on top of those cohort changes. 4th grade was the bright spot at elementary, where they had a 7.5% cohort increase compared to last fall as 3rd graders. We do note that there is a steep drop for 2nd grade and 6th grade especially, and I wanted to explain a little bit about that assessment. The NWEA MAP uses 3 different assessments for growth. There's a K2 assessment, there's a 2-5 assessment, and then there's a 6+ assessment. We choose to administer the 2-5 assessment to our 2nd graders. And when you change from a K2 to a 2-5 and from a 2-5 to a 6+, students have to re-enter that assessment, and they have more difficulty topping out on their RIT scores and getting up to that same level of performance that they were at for the previous. And then additionally for 2nd grade, it is the first time they take it 100% independently. So even for a math assessment, the questions aren't being read aloud to them. They are doing all of that work on their own for the first time. So that drop is not uncommon to see, and that 6th grade one is typical to what we saw last year with that new norming, or the new algorithm. And they have not re-normed the assessment since they changed the algorithm. That is on the precipice, we believe, for 2025. We also want to be mindful of our subgroup data and how our students in subgroups are doing compared to all students. So looking at this graph, we have our all students on the left, and then our student groups going from there. We have our EL students, students with IEPs, Asian, Black, Hispanic, Native American, multiracial, white, and low SES. One point I want to make when we look at all of our subgroup data is considering the size of the N for these groups. We do have some subgroups that are made up of maybe 0.3% of our entire student body. So when you look at K11 then for testing, we're talking about 15 to 20 students approximately that would be tested within that group. So a couple of students, one way or the other, can sway that data pretty significantly. So I just want to be mindful of that. We do analyze that student by student at the school level and make sure that we're meeting the needs of every student through our MTSS process. But this does give us a snapshot of where we are as a whole. Typical for what we have seen in the past, our EL and IEP subgroups do have the largest gap between all students, and we are continuing to work through our MTSS process and ensure that they're getting the intensive supports that they need to help us close those gaps. We'll switch gears now and look at our reading assessment. And this year, we are starting with 56.03% of our students in the top 3 bands in the area of reading. And this is a change of just 1 1/10 from where we were last year at 57.13%. So again, very consistent with where we began last fall. You'll see that as a trend this evening. Looking at that same graph with our longitudinal data, that same cycle of fall, winter, spring each school year, you can see we are starting the year very near where we started last fall, as I mentioned, and we've been pretty consistent over the last 5 or so assessment periods in the area of reading, continuing to work through our implementation at elementary. If you recall, we had a new resource and implementation last year, and we're really focusing on some science of reading professional learning as well, so we'll continue that work in progress there. Again, looking by grade level with kindergarten on the left and then working right to 11th grade and our district average as a whole. Similar to past years, kindergarten is the area where we have our highest performance, and we do see that steepest drop in 2nd grade, where you'll recall we typically recover very well in the winter and the spring as they adjust to that independent assessment. We did also see an upward trajectory then in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grades, so it's nice to see that recovery holds true year after year. We did note 6th and 7th grade are lower than we typically see in the fall, and we are continuing to collaborate with our principals and school teams on maximizing that extended time that we have for the math and ELA blocks to really ensure we're best meeting the needs of students to help raise that achievement level. So they have that additional time with the new middle school schedule. Once again, celebrating 9th grade as a bright spot with the highest percentage in the top 3 bands during the fall window ever, and we're really excited to see what this cohort of students will continue to achieve. Again, looking at cohort data, laying this teal line over to show how the students did last year compared to this year. We do see that drastic decrease from 1st to 2nd grade. That is typical of what we've seen in prior years, and we are continuing to work to address that and also recognize that change in assessment contributes to that. 4th and 9th grade had huge cohort increases of approximately 8% each compared to last year as 3rd and 8th graders. So that's a great celebration to see that they're maintaining those levels of proficiency in ELA. And we will continue that focus on the middle school and then the 10th and 11th grades, as I mentioned earlier. Again, looking at our subgroup data compared to all students, this is very similar to our math data by student group and also relatively consistent to what we saw last fall. We are going to continue to work on focusing to meet the needs of all students and increase that subgroup data and close those gaps. And finally, we'll look at science. And we are beginning the year with science being administered in 5th grade for the first time in the fall ever. Typically, we've only administered 5th grade in the winter, but we are increasing our focus on science, as you saw in our metrics. We know the state is also looking at that in terms of how schools are measured for their performance, and we agree that it is important to take note of our science achievement. We're beginning with 62.11% in those top 3 bands, and this is up from 61.12% last fall. So again, within a percentage point of where we were last year. This line graph shows that science performance over time. You will note that we did not begin administering science map until winter of 2021, so there are not quite as many data points on this graph, but what you can see is that we've had pretty consistent results in the area of science and that we are actually on an upward trajectory even this fall as we're starting, so we're really positive about maintaining those results now that we're into our science curriculum and not implementing anything new at this time in that area. Again, by grade level, you can see that we are pretty consistent grade to grade. This is the area where we have the least amount of variance in our performance. So not seeing as many peaks and valleys in these graphs from 5th grade to 11th grade, and then our district average. And again, looking at cohort data, we do not have cohort data for 5th grade because we didn't administer this with them as 4th graders, and then not for 6th grade since this is our first time administering it with 5th grade in the fall as well. But for our other grade levels, you can see there how they did compared to last year. We had cohort increases at every grade level with the exception of 10th grade, which was just a slight drop. And again, really great celebrations there. You can see 7th, 8th, and 9th grades had pretty substantial increases for their cohort groups. Again, looking at our subgroup data, it is pretty similar to what we are seeing in the areas of reading and math in terms of the gaps. Science is an area of strength for our IEP subgroup, the highest percentage of students in the top 3 bands in this content area compared to math and reading. And that is really important to note, that that area of strength. The nice thing about a science assessment is they can have accommodations and modifications if their IEPs allow, so that they get help with the reading portion as long as they understand the science concepts. We do see a wider gap for our EL subgroup here, which does align with what we know about language acquisition and the amount of academic vocabulary required when you are also trying to acquire a new language is very difficult. So we continue to work on ways to work on building basic vocabulary as well as that content-specific, domain-specific vocabulary in science. So we know this is our baseline, and we have a whole year to respond to this data and meet the needs of students, which is always exciting for us to have a fresh start year to year. Some next steps we have identified. First, for the area of elementary ELA, we are looking at piloting a virtual reading assistant in collaboration with the Department of Education. You may remember a Friday note about that last week, as well as those headphones that are purchased. We're really excited about that individualized tutoring students will receive from this virtual reading assistant in times when they do not have that direct one-on-one access to a teacher. That will be really supportive, and it is aligned to the science of reading research as well. Another step we are taking is a new approach to administrator professional learning this year. Teaching and learning and school leadership are collaborating to really design professional learning experiences for administrators that are differentiated by level and also based on their needs. So the principals were surveyed and asked what would be the most beneficial to support them in meeting their school improvement plan goals and improving their instructional leadership practices. And we started that last month, and it's been very positive. Third, we are going to continue to leverage our multi-tiered systems of support to make sure that we are identifying and responding when students need additional support or additional enrichment. We truly believe that that process and working with those school teams is the approach to take to look at that student level data and make those decisions at the school level where they have the greatest impact. And then finally, our last step is looking at our consultant and implementation support a little bit differently again too. Last year we did add that element of ELA support at secondary for the first time, so we're pleased to continue that. And now we are also differentiating that and able to provide some support for our specialized programs in the area of mathematics through a consultant who has expertise in that area to help with that subgroup data. So with that, I would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Not as much I guess this is kind of a question. I find it really interesting how when we look at the science results, it's very consistent. It's very, gradual, which is kind of expected. But especially, I think I notice this every time we go through the map, but especially this presentation, there were some really drastic changes, both negatively and positively. Do we know, have there been other districts that are using maps that have reported similar findings on math and reading versus science? Because to me, that just seems really drastic. When we see a 10% jump almost, between a spring and fall testing, it's okay, I know we're making improvements. There's obviously going to be things that are going to happen, but to me, when I see a giant jump like that, in different grades, I start to worry about the test itself.
Yes, so we don't have access to other districts in our area who are administering a MAP, and I have not met with our rep yet since our fall administration, but they will tell us, and they did tell us last year, the sixth grade drop is very consistent with what they see because of that change in assessment. The second grade drop because of what we choose to administer, the 2-5 versus the K2.
Yeah.
Is pretty typical to what they're seeing.
Yeah, no, those drops, I've definitely asked you that before, and I always feel bad that I feel like I'm asking the same question each time. It's just, to me, especially across the subjects, not as much the grade difference, like that we've already talked about, but the subject difference, to me, it just seems very odd, but,
And Mr. Peters, I'll add on science, it is a grade span.
yeah,
And so it could be something that was taught in third grade, fourth grade, measured in fifth.
yeah.
So it's kind of built upon.
It's a tighter
It's
span.
a tighter, and it's real content specific
Yeah.
to those standards. And so because even if you noticed, our IEP scores were higher in science.
Yeah,
And
that's-
so I really believe it's just the different content. And I believe it is tighter around those measures.
Yeah.
ELA and math is wider and more complex, and a lot more reading without having the visual cues that they have in science that kind of alert. So I think it's true of the vocabulary they're taught in science that they can build upon and draw conclusions from. But I do think as they continue to change and norm, NWA will continue to have to, especially with the new algorithm that they put in place. I think students seeing content that they've yet to be taught can be very
Yeah.
frustrating.
Yeah.
And it does push them to frustration before they let them drop down. And the more they answer, the harder it gets. And so at the beginning of a year, having grit to do that, I really worry on some of our grade levels. And it is very hard for our second graders because the first 2 years, it was so much, it was comfortable. And now it becomes uncomfortable for them.
Yeah.
So, I do worry a little bit. We talked even in our group as we began to look at this about, summer school or summer slide, and what does that look like? And are we still, trying to get past that COVID, what hit us like a brick?
Yeah.
And how do we continue to move forward and backfill what we're doing? And I think it's something that you will see in many of the articles that are coming out. And everyone's trying to figure this out. How do we recover?
Yeah.
But it is a concern that we are at the same place and we're not moving forward. But we also know some of that movement was halted by what happened in sixth grade, what happened in second grade that continues to pull that down. Because even I was looking at some data with Dr. Shudak, and I went over to 11th grade, and they pulled us down instead of lifting us up. If they had been right in the game, we'd have went up a few more notches, because I'm competitive, so I want to see all the UEN schools in my school, and I want to see where I rank, and I'm counting up how many lines I am. And so you just have to begin to look at it by grade levels, and then begin to identify, and that's the purpose of this data, to provide that kind of roadmap or GPS for our teachers to figure out how do we backfill what students aren't bringing with them, while yet knowing what's coming down the road in the content that will prepare them for the winter assessment. They're still going to have frustration there because there's going to be at least 4 more months of instruction they haven't yet gotten.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the piece that's really tough.
Okay, that makes sense, especially the piece of being tested on items that they haven't learned, yet. Depending on the grade level, that could be a comprehensive piece that was maybe explained a little bit the year prior, but when they get to that level, it's so that makes more sense. I just always find it odd when we see ninth grade jumped up 10 percentage points, which was great. That's awesome, but I just.
What did they take with them? But the one
Yeah.
piece that I hope teachers are always using is students that have already mastered that, that they are not held to hearing it again.
Yeah.
How do we enrich and move them beyond? And so it's not always looking at who doesn't, who hasn't mastered, but who has, and how do we continue to provide that enrichment?
grow.
So it gives us both ends of the spectrum.
I have a question. It seems like the fall results from 2024 and 2023 were really in line together. Is there anything that, as a district, are we concerned about, the summer slide or anything? Is there, like suggestions that we send parents with over the summer? I mean, I know what I do as a parent and my kids hate it, but is there anything like that, or are we good with the fall results because they're in line? I don't know.
Yes, we do have suggestions for families who want to continue to work with their students over the summer. And we have great summer programming as well, of course. But we also know that this is baseline and it is a norm referenced assessment. And so there's a percentile ranking, and all of the same students, minus that one group who moved on, is being assessed just like we are. And so we're falling in line. I wouldn't say that it's attributable to summer slide necessarily. It's that they haven't been taught the concepts yet to achieve that level of mastery.
Okay, yeah, because I didn't realize that they were tested on the grade material that they hadn't learned yet. So, yeah, that is difficult, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. And for our next presentation this evening, I'm really excited about this presentation. As you can see, Ms. Jins is with us tonight, and to have a principal here, and she's just so excited to be a part of our presentation. The middle school, college, and career exploratory labs have just really taken off. And so we're so excited to share with you where we've come from, how we built it, what it looks like, seeing through the eyes of our students, hearing from maybe even possibly a teacher, something tonight, yeah, great, and our principal. And then Ms. Colmine's going to kind of put the caboose on it and show you the alignment and how tight we got. So Dr. Matthews, the floor is yours again.
Thank you again. I am really excited to be able to share with you updates on the College and Career Exploratory Labs. This has been a labor of love for a year now or longer, and just really excited to show this to you now after 6 weeks of being up and running. You can see here, these are two of our 8th grade students, and they are learning how to measure blood pressure and analyze the readings. I know, it's great, in one of our health science labs. Just one of the many great opportunities they're having already. So tonight I will provide information on the curriculum and instruction, and then Ms. Jens, current principal, will follow me and give you greater insight on that student experience, what's happening in the schools and the lab settings. And Ms. Comine will set the stage for a look inside the classrooms with that video spotlight and show that alignment with our Diploma +1 pathways in our high schools. So going back to the curriculum, last spring you approved the purchase of the Paxton Patterson College and Career Ready Labs. You may recall earlier in the year I shared with you the 2 resources that our work group was looking at and analyzing based on a rubric with 10 different criteria, and we agreed unanimously that Paxton Patterson was a great choice for us. And 3 of the reasons why, among others, are really that hands-on, authentic, problem-based learning that you'll get to see tonight. It is so engaging for students, and they are getting to immediately apply what they are learning in very authentic ways. We also really appreciated the customizable content, so students are able to really explore areas that they're interested in, where their strengths are, and explore things that maybe they hadn't considered before, so that they can make more informed choices going into that high school planning and beyond. And then finally, because of that, we wanted to make sure that the resource was aligned to those National College and Career Standards, as well as to our high school pathways, to help them with that decision making for their 4-year planning, to look at the pathways they may want to pursue and have a better foundation going into high school. So going further into the aligned opportunities, you do have a handout because I recognize the print is a little small on the screen, but that's because we are offering so many opportunities, which is a great thing. What this is showing is around the outer edges are the 5 college and career areas that our high school pathways cover. And you can see starting by that yellow is business, finance, marketing, and management, followed by information and communication systems, and then our applied sciences, technology, engineering, and manufacturing. Down below is health sciences, and then the human services. And what I've done is I've taken the different labs that we are offering at the middle schools and aligned them with those different areas. So you can see all of the opportunities that our middle school students have to explore those college and career areas that they can then pursue in high school as well. All of the labs do follow a predictable sequence. So students work through the labs with a partner, and it's going to take them about 3 to 4 weeks to work through each of the labs. So after they get through their foundational pieces that you'll hear more about and a whole group lab, they'll get to experience 3 or 4 choice labs that they're working through with a partner. The predictable sequence is really nice for the students. As predicted at 7 o'clock. That's not it.
Closer, at least they didn't turn off.
One. Oh, there you go. Yep, got it. Thank you. Sorry about that. So as I was saying, the labs follow a predictable sequence, so students know what to expect, which is really great. But the sequence is predictable. The experiences within that are very unique. So beginning, just to set the stage, each lab starts with key terminology and developing some background knowledge so that students learn some basics about the college and career opportunity that they're going to then explore in a hands-on way. That is followed by project-based activities that do continue to build on that initial background knowledge as they're learning and applying new concepts. Each lab also does have critical writing and a design brief, which is an authentic problem that they get to solve related to that college and career area. And then the final piece is career research and planning. What you can see here, we are also very intentional about embedding work-based learning opportunities and experiences for students. And this was one of our guest speakers from Children's Hospital, and he was teaching students about respiratory therapy in this example. So very cool opportunities for our students. So you're probably wondering, what does this look like in terms of one of our labs or modules? I'm going to walk you through a little bit of how that would look in one of our modules, that is the video production. They all have this overarching objective. For video production, it is that by the end of this lab, students will be able to employ the techniques of composition, lighting, and editing used by independent content creators as they develop their own video content. So very hands-on, very authentic. They are doing the work. That is the end goal. To get there, they start with that video production terminology and that key background information. So they're going to learn about the evolution of video production. They're going to learn about stages of production, that pre-planning, developing a script, making storyboards. They're also going to learn about terminology like compression, continuity, framing, editing, what's a fade, what's the rule of thirds, how do I apply that when I'm shooting film. So very cool background knowledge for them. From there, they move into those project-based activities. So they're going to apply what they learned about the various types of shots and the rule of thirds, and they are going to practice a variety of shot techniques. They're going to look at wide shot, medium shot, close-up, and extreme close-up. They're also going to apply lighting and camera techniques after learning how to use a tripod, frame a shot, focus a shot, and then use those key lighting terms like linear and non-linear editing, as well as more advanced editing techniques to apply to the images that they have captured. So they're not just sitting on a computer using other people's work. They are out filming this. They know Ms. Jens and Ms. Comine actually captured this one in action the other day, and it was just great to see the students creating that content already. From there are critical writing and design brief opportunities. For this specific lab, one of the critical writing prompts is, what is the goal of good composition in video production, and what are the key factors to consider when shooting video? Be sure to include the rule of thirds in your response. So getting them to articulate through the writing, which we know is an essential part of those college and career standards aligned to ELA, they're applying what they've learned in that critical writing piece. There's also an argumentative piece later in this model where they justify some of their thinking around this area. That design brief is really exciting. For this one, there's a choice of two. One of them is the authentic task where students are introduced by saying Scholastic Tube, an upcoming streaming service, is having a contest to promote school-aged content creators. Winners will have their videos featured on the site's homepage. This could be your big break. Use your creativity and critical thinking skills to begin researching common types of video sharing topics. You'll need to finalize your video production idea with an explanation of its purpose, target audience, and the resources needed to complete. Utilize what you now know about the stages of video production to guide you on your journey to become a well-respected YouTuber. Note, your video should not exceed 2 minutes. So you can see they are given very specific parameters, but in a fun, authentic way to apply everything they've learned in this final design brief project in a real-world setting. So very exciting opportunity. Oh, and sorry, I should have had those bullets up when I was reading through that. And then finally, each lab does have career research and planning. So there are embedded links that students can explore more about the different career opportunities available within this lab. So for this one, they're going to look at maybe they want to be a producer or a director or a camera operator. There could be something with social media content development. We know that's up and coming. So looking at all of those pieces, that is the alignment to our career and academic pathway. We have the emerging technologies. They can get a social media certificate. They can get an associate's degree in the audiovisual arts and communications. So looking at that alignment to the pathways, they can explore those careers in that end stage within each of our models to see where they might want to pursue more when they get into high school. So as you can see, there are a lot of exciting, engaging, hands-on, authentic experiences happening. This is just one of the many examples for students to select. And now I will turn it over to Kern Principal, Ms. Jens, who will go into more information about the student experience.
Thank you, Dr. Matthews, and thank you, Board of Education and Dr. Murillo, for having me here tonight. I'm really excited to kind of take you on our journey from where we started, August 23rd till now. So it's only been about 6 weeks, but there's been so much that's happened. And it's just been really amazing to see these classroom spaces come to life because we did a lot of planning, from adopting our curriculum and then all of the construction work that went into just building the space. And so now having our students and teachers in there and really bringing it to life has been really great. So starting from the beginning, to initially launch our exploratory labs, all grade levels started with Paxton and Patterson's Lab Basics, and then each grade level transitioned into a whole group module. And our reason for doing this was just to provide an opportunity for everybody to start slow and really understand and grasp, what is this going to look like? Because like Dr. Matthews mentioned, eventually then all of them get into 3 to 4 modules throughout the semester with a partner. And so it was really important that we took our time to establish the routines and the procedures utilizing our CHAMPS model and the resources from Paxton and Patterson to help students understand those procedures for using, maintaining, cleaning, storing lab materials safely, how to navigate that learning management system, because they're not in Google Classroom, they're in Paxton and Patterson's, LMS system. So navigating that and just being really comfortable with the resource and what that experience was going to look like when they were released to work with their partners. So in this picture here, you can see, very small, but you can see that's an 8th grade classroom where students are engaging in a card sort and having conversation around lab safety. So going deeper into that whole group module, again, we took 6th grade through an employability module that was their focus, where students explored the characteristics of career-ready individuals, aligned their personal skills and abilities with career goals and interests, and developed an initial resume and cover letter. And in that picture there with our 6th grade, you can see 2 students using some question stems that were built into that learning management system directly from Paxton and Patterson to have a conversation about the characteristics of career-ready individuals. Looking at 7th grade, so that 7th grade whole group module was the Lifetime Nutrition and Wellness, where students explored the 8 dimensions of wellness and how they influence overall well-being, as well as the principles of nutrition and how an active lifestyle can contribute to your overall wellness. Students were able to assess their own physical health and describe proactive steps needed to avoid and prevent illness, injury, and disease. And in that picture, you can see two students generating a list of academic vocabulary. Their student workstations are dry erase tables, so that was super great. They just had a marker there, and were generating that list of academic vocabulary to possibly include in their design brief as they were wrapping that up. And then in 8th grade, the whole group module was around personal finance. And students were focused on identifying products and services used in the development and maintenance of a financial plan, examine the differences between home, auto, health, and life insurance and the importance of each, and then even explored the basic tax filing principles and practices. So in that picture there, you can see two students. Well, you can see one of them, but there's hands there. Critically thinking as they put together, it was a puzzle where each of the sides of the puzzle had different clues that they had to match up to the corresponding pieces, all with that financial vocabulary again. So as we got to the end of that whole group module, something that's important to us as we uphold our student choice and agency in student learning. As they were wrapping up the whole group model, they were briefly introduced to each of the additional modules and received a small glimpse at the hands-on experiences they would have within each. So then students identified a group of modules that they wanted to explore more. What's interest to me? What's of interest to me? Who do I want to be when I grow up? What do I want to explore? So there's a total of 14 modules in each grade level, and students put together their top 6, knowing they're only going to be able to experience 3 or 4, depending on time. So in 6th grade there, I know that's a small list. That's not all 14. That's a few of them. That's actually 8. And as you can see in that list, I didn't have anything bolded because actually everything came out very evenly distributed. 6th graders were interested in all of them. We didn't have anything that rose to the top. So that was just interesting to us in 6th grade. They're all just excited about all of it. In 7th grade, we had 3 that rose to the top, those 3 that are in bold there. We had culinary arts, the home maintenance and fundamentals, and then sports medicine. And then in 8th grade, we had emergency medical technician, nursing, and welding basics. I would also add that overall, and you'll see as we progress through with our pictures, overall we have a really nice mixture of students choosing various modules. We have girls who are really excited about home maintenance and trying welding for the first time, something they've never thought that they would experience. We have boys who are enjoying the child development lesson or module and learning how to give a baby a bath and what it means to feed them and things like that, as well as the nursing module and learning about that. So super exciting that we're providing these experiences to our students that they probably wouldn't have had in any other capacity. In that picture there, you can see 2 of our 8th graders examining a brain scan, and that is actually part of our digital imaging module in 8th grade. So here you can just see our students in action. And I will just say that being present in these classrooms always puts a smile on my face. I have probably a story that I could tell from every single day, going all the way back to August 23rd. I mean, seeing students and teachers in action, there's excitement about the things that they're learning, the high levels of engagement, the fun that they're having, just the celebrations when they're, they reach a goal or they're accomplishing something that they never thought that they could. The energy is just really high every single day, and it's really great. And like Tracy mentioned, or Dr. Matthews mentioned, last week, Ms. Comine and I, we were just doing a walk through the school, and we happened to see 2 6th graders. They grabbed me. They were wheeling their equipment outside because they wanted to get the perfect shot of Kern Middle School. It was first thing in the morning. The sun was shining. And so it's like, Miss Jens, can you come outside with us, please? And it was super great. And that was that's that bottom picture there. Those are 2 6th graders who were just out front trying to get the perfect shot as they started that video production unit. And, I would just also add that know that this doesn't happen on its own. I mean, the work that teachers are putting in behind the scenes, with the consumable products that are needed from day to day, filling up those totes, even from class period to class period, making sure it's ready to go. And they are masterfully facilitating those groups, right? You have 10 to 14 pairs of students in the classroom that are all working on something different. And the teacher is just popping from group to group, guiding with questions, prompting and cueing, recording progress, all the things. So there's no way to really capture it. I can't use words to say what it looks like. and feels like, but it really just is truly amazing, which hopefully our video will capture in just a few minutes. I would say that top picture there, so that's a girl, this just happened on Friday. A teacher emailed at the end of the day, it was actually 9th period on Friday. We're all tired Friday afternoon, and this girl, she was so pumped, she got so excited because she installed a plastic self-driving anchor into the drywall. And she was like, look at me, I did it. Then her partner did the same thing. She was like, we're going to both do this, and this is how we're ending our Friday. They stayed past the bell because they weren't going to leave until they got it. And, the teacher sent an email later just saying, quote, these kids are having the best time, experiencing so many new things. This is quickly becoming the best career choice I could have made. So, making a difference in the lives of our kids. And then even just today, I was in an IEP meeting. I don't know if you've been part of an IEP meeting before as a parent, but we always start by discussing student interests and strengths. And this student identified one of his strengths as speech pathology because that's the module that he's in 7th grade right now. And that's who he wants to be when he grows up now. And he had never even known about it, and he's in week 2 of that module, and he's like, that's who I'm going to be when I grow up. So super exciting, and like I said, I think there's a story that I could tell about every single day. So also with that, I would say not only are we providing these exploratory opportunities that connect to our Diploma Plus One, but we're also developing several transferable skills that will continue to impact our students' learning and experiences as they move throughout their educational journey. Middle school is all about learning who you are, who you want to be, having lots of different experiences, and we are providing that through the college and career lens, as well as through several transferable skills that align to their ICAP or individual career and academic planning. So in that first picture there, that is a picture of 7th grade students in our pneumatics module. They are actually testing Pascal's law, trying to see or test that pressure in a confined body acts equally in all directions. So definitely a complex problem to explore. Students critically thinking, tapping into their perseverance and grit. How does the system work? Diving into that idea of trial and error. In that second picture, you see 7th grade students there in that speech therapy module examining a life-size head to determine parts that allow us to speak and evaluating how different sounds are made. So developing a true understanding there of communication. And then in that first picture there, that's an 8th grade classroom for us, and it's kind of hard to see, but there are 2 students in that picture. One is underneath the sink, that's a faucet, that is in the classroom. It's not hooked up to water, it's just for practice. But you have a student who's underneath, and then that student who's kind of leaning on the counter and working behind. So the teamwork there where they are examining the pipes on the back and underneath and collaborating on what action they're going to take to correct the leaks. And then finally, we have students exploring self-understanding and adaptability and thinking about who they are as a learner, their strengths, areas of growth, how they change to best fit a situation. And here you can see 7th grade students dressed in their safety gear for the occupational health and safety module, and I think their smiles say it all. So again, I just want to say that bringing these classrooms to life has really been so great. I mean, it's truly the way that we're providing more opportunities for our students to achieve more. So it's really been great. And now I will turn it over to Ms. Comine, and she will start by showing a video of our students in action.
Thank you, Ms. Jens. It has been such a joy to see the middle school exploratory labs in action, and even more exciting to see our students and teachers actually doing what we set out to do over a year ago. So tonight we do have a video that was created just within the past couple weeks, and it provides a glimpse into the impact that the exploratory labs are already having on our students and teachers in both of our middle schools.
So this class is basically just an exploration of different careers and different career clusters that students can have the opportunity to view and get hands-on experience and just try it, see if they like it.
We have 14 different labs and modules in the room. And with partners, they should get through 3 or 4 of them in a semester to get to see which careers interest them and maybe which doesn't interest them.
So we're making a pack. You put petroleum jelly, you soak the bandage in water, and then you have to wrap it around until it's gone. We're going to cut it and measure it, and then drill these holes in the back to get the stem to sit right.
The learning management system that we're using is Paxton and Patterson. We're the only middle school in the state using the program as of right now. And it's bringing relevance and hands-on learning that happens outside of the 4 walls of middle school into the classroom. And then on top of it, it relates back to our Diploma Plus One programming that serves our high schools with the partnership with Iowa State Community College and students receiving a certificate, diploma, associate's degree, or industry recognition.
And here at the middle school level, we kind of start with an exploration type of focus and a lens where our students do hands-on experience with different careers and different options to see what they like.
This curriculum has made them determined to keep trying and have that grit, which is so important because I think our kids need that right now. To keep trying and keep, oh, that didn't work the first time cutting my wood. Well, that's okay. It's okay to make mistakes and learn from the mistakes and to grow. Something that they're interested in, then the learning happens and they kind of take ownership of their learning. And I like the Paxton and Patterson program because it does make them the owner of their learning. Whether it's business, healthcare, engineering, there's something for everybody to pick from.
We have 6 teachers, 1 at each grade level. So 1 6th grade, 1 7th grade, 1 5th grade at each building.
I think a lot of it sounds exciting. This was a little bit of a game changer for me. I came from science last year in 6th grade over to this new curriculum, and I got to say it was probably one of the best decisions I've made. Not only do I, get to experience a lot of aha moments with students and get to share in their happiness and the memories, but I'm also kind of learning as I'm going along as well.
Kids are loving it. They are loving the hands-on, engaged activities.
I got to try on the firefighters equipment. It wasn't that heavy, and it was like what I expected.
It's a fun class. I like that we get to explore so many different careers, and I like that we get to pick which ones we choose. It's giving me an opportunity to look into careers, especially ones that I wouldn't think about. I value this class because I need the experience of having a job, so once I go get a job, I know what I'm doing.
You guys can see and look at it. This is amazing. I had no idea that this was even in schools. I wish, honestly, that I had something along this line this early in schooling, besides the 1 semester in high school. You go, hey, choose what you may want to do and shadow for a day. This is tremendous for the next generation of students.
Yeah, that to me is what every teacher's dream is, to see kids adapt to the real world.
This is giving me a head start on what I might do later.
So, truly is amazing to see all the work pay off. Truly was definitely worth it. So the rest of the presentation tonight will show how the middle school exploratory labs not only align to our district strategic goals, but also transfer to our Diploma Plus One pathways and bring an overall coherence to our district vision of every student graduating with a high school diploma and a second credential. So the middle school exploratory labs align to 2 district strategic goals. The first one being goal 2, which is to guarantee each graduate is future ready. And you are aware that the metric we use to measure that goal is the number of students, the percentage of students that graduate with a high school diploma and a second credential. And then the second goal it meets is goal 3, which is to provide a successful transition from 8th to 9th grade. And this goal supports students in being more prepared and confident when they enter high school and move toward earning a credential, diploma, or a degree by high school graduation. Also on this picture, or on the slide, are 3 different pictures. And Dr. Murillo, myself, and Miss Tara Somerville, she's the Plus One Pathways counselor out at Iowa Western Community College. We had the opportunity to visit majority of the programming that we offer at Iowa Western last week. And so at the top, you see the culinary class. In this particular day, they were making fried zucchini. The middle picture is a student that is part of our health sciences pathways, and this particular class was the CNA class, and all of the students were practicing the 30 different skills that they must know and be able to do, but also show proficiency on when they take the state assessment to get their CNA certification. And then the bottom picture is a first-year welder out at Iowa Western Community College campus, and it was truly amazing to see the students enter, get off the bus from high school, go in, put their clothes on, get their PPE already, walk into the welding lab, go right to their workstation, start working on their task without any help or prompting, do the actual work, and then go to their instructor and have the instructor check their task and give them feedback if needed. If I would not have known that this was a first-year student in welding who had only been there for 6 weeks, never would have believed it. Truly amazing. And I don't know how to, I apologize, I don't know how to make this slide look different. So earlier in the presentation, Dr. Matthews shared the 5 national college and career areas our district provides in our middle schools. And these are represented on the graphic on the left, and then they're the same college and career ready areas that we offer in our Diploma Plus One pathways represented on the right. And so they truly, our middle school exploratory labs truly just translate into our high school Diploma Plus One pathways. And as a reminder, our Diploma Plus One pathways are both college bound and career ready, and we have a really, really good balance of both of them, and the graphic does a nice job showing that as well. So if we were to take a look at each of those and start with the college bound, at the top you see the Early College Academy in blue, and that is where students attend Iowa Western Community College full-time and they earn their associate's degree by graduation. Students also have the opportunity to participate in extracurriculars within their home high school as well. And then underneath in the orange is the College Credit Acceleration, where students earn at least 24 college credits by the time they graduate. Many of them earn more than 24 college credits, and some of them will earn an associate's degree. And if we continue to be on track, we will probably hit a record high of students earning an associate's degree in our College Credit Acceleration this year. And then at the bottom, the Career and Academic Pathway, it is strategically placed on our graphic there because it is the one pathway that falls within both our college bound and our career ready. And within that particular pathway, we have our aviation, our business management and administration, emerging technologies, medical health science, early childhood education, and hospitality management. If we take a look at our career ready opportunities, at the top you see in the teal the TradeWorks Academy. This is where students participate in year 1 and year 2 at each of our high schools, and they focus on foundational coursework in the 5 skilled trades. And students also earn their first industry recognized credential with the OSHA 10. And then underneath in yellow is our TradeWorks at Iowa Western Community College, and this is where students earn industry-recognized credentials and diplomas through college-level coursework. And then finally, again, our Career and Academic Pathway falls within both the college-bound and career-ready and still has the same pathways that I had already mentioned on the previous slide. If we take it a step further, again, these are the 5 college and career areas that our middle school pathways are built off of, and also the same 5 college and career areas that our high school Diploma Plus One pathways are built off of. So if I am a student participating in Early College Academy, I can choose any of these 5 areas to participate in. If I am a student in College Credit Acceleration, I too can pick any of these 5 areas. If I'm a student in the Career and Academic Pathway, I too can participate in any of these 5 pathways. And of course, if I am in TradeWorks Academy at our high schools or TradeWorks at Iowa Western Community College, both of those fall within our applied sciences, technology, engineering, and manufacturing. So this really shows that what our students are receiving and experiencing and exploring in our middle schools, if they choose that same pathway, or if they choose to exit and get on another one, that translates really well into the high school experience. So in closing, the vertical alignment between our middle school exploratory labs and our Diploma Plus One pathways helps our students build upon what they've learned in middle school and prepares them for the challenging work in high school. This alignment brings coherence to our district vision, which is our North Star, where every student graduates with a high school diploma and a second credential, making post-secondary education inescapable for all. And with that, we are happy to take any questions.
I have a question. I am curious, why is employability skills, why is there an asterisk?
I will take that one. That could really fall into any of the areas, and so we just picked one and put the asterisk there.
Versatile. And
Yes.
then probably more of a comment, because I think I can assume the answer, but the college and career exploratory labs remind me a lot of TechWorks and life management that used to be, I would assume it's not offered anymore at the middle schools, but like on steroids and very intentional. And it's great to see that there's that alignment with the D+1 pathways.
Yeah, more just a comment as well. I'm really excited seeing, especially like the project-based learning. I feel like I'm a bit biased towards that because I tend to learn better through project-based learning as well. But it's really exciting to see that, especially I know when this was first getting put together, that was, I think, a concern among parents is, focusing on careers, this early in middle school might be problematic, but like seeing how this maps exactly to our standards and everything, I think is fantastic. And Jared, I know you say this all the time, and I'm definitely saying I wish this was around when I was in school, especially that home maintenance one would have helped over the summer. I had to put a new sink in, and that was not fun. But this is truly fantastic. This is really great to see.
I really appreciate the specific example that you showed for the video production and really hearing some terms that I hear in my industry, and also that it was very multidisciplinary and could pull from a lot of different areas of classwork that kids are taking. So I really enjoyed that. Thank you.
Being from the finance world, I was thrilled to see the personal finance module going on, because they will need that no matter what they do just to survive in the world.
Yay, nursing. Do you know how many of these exploratory labs then at the high school level have a D+1 credential that is associated with them?
So they all do in some facet, whether that be a certificate, diploma, or associate's degree. Some of them are more direct alignment, and some are through that associate. There would be courses that would be specific to one of these labs or modules, but the whole degree would have a little more variety within it.
Okay, so all of them, 100%. It's awesome.
Just a very quick question on this. So like, I want to make sure I'm understanding how these are set. Do a lot of these lead into some of the other ones? Like, for example, like computer graphics and game development, you shouldn't take until you take an intro to computer science. Like, they're all, each one of them you could take at any point.
Yes, no prerequisites for any of them.
Oh, that's great, especially for like scheduling, because I know that the kids are going to be really excited to take these and want to make sure there's enough room for everyone.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering that same question, if there were any that are like highly recommended to sixth graders or highly recommended to each grade level, or.
We did work with Paxton Patterson when choosing which labs would be at each grade level. Some of them are a little higher level for reading and different pieces like that, or even the content. So we put those in 8th grade, and some really transferred across grade levels, and they said would be appropriate for any. So we worked with them on those recommendations.
I guess this is for Ms. Jens. How has this changed the culture of Kern?
Yeah, like I said, I think it just brings hands-on, right, and provides opportunities for students that they've never had in any other capacity. So they're just really excited to try a whole bunch of different things. And like I said, middle school is really about figuring out who you are and who you want to be. And so we have this huge variety of of opportunities for students in 6th grade, and then to build on that in 7th grade, or maybe even try it again because I loved it so much and I want to dig deeper, and so they just have that opportunity to try as many things as they can, and the energy and excitement is just been really great.
Good. That's excellent. That brings me to more a discussion that I'd like to talk with the board. I mean, we talk about how we want our students to try more things, to find what excites them, and to take risks. And for me, I think our schools need to be that place, that safe place, where students can take risks and learn what they want to do and find that passion. But are we going to be now? And now it's coming back to why do we penalize them with our grading system when they don't want to take those risks because that may be a difficult class? They may have a hard time understanding some of the concepts, but they're moving outside their comfort zone and expanding themselves. So that's one thing that I want to continue to talk about, is that we should not be penalizing our students for taking risks. This is the time where they should feel safe to make those risks, to take those risks and to find out what's going on. So keep that in mind when we talk about how our grading system is going to look. Because, rigor is important, but so is finding out what you like.
I've been excited because I hang out with a lot of middle schoolers, and a lot of them have been telling me specifically what types of things, which of the labs they've been taking, and some students who are dead set on doing this in the future have expressed a lot of excitement in trying something completely different that didn't relate to it, what they thought was going to be their career goal. And I've really enjoyed hearing how open-minded they've been, and that's been really fun to listen to.
And I want to acknowledge, if I could, for a minute, Ms. Jins, because as we were talking about, we had IB in the middle schools. And really, it was Ms. Jins who brought the kind of the thought process about changing our curriculum to Ms. Comine. And Ms. Comine spoke to me and said, Ms. Jins feels like we've got a disconnect from what's happening in our middle schools. And I just want to thank you for thinking outside the box and seeing that, and seeing it was time for a change. And I still, if you hear, she's talking about agency and choice, which still aligns to the principles of the IB program. And so we didn't really remove, we enhanced and made it better in the alignment, and students are really excited to have that hands-on. So thank you.
I just wanted to congratulate you on successfully implementing this. This is a fantastic and tremendous program that clearly no other school in the state is doing. As Dave indicated, being able to give our children a way to take a risk and try something out lines straight up with goal number 2. We're making sure that they're career ready and they're trying things out, and they want to do this, they want to do that. The 6th graders want to do everything. That's fantastic. Try it out and do that. Along with what Patrick was saying, every time I see something like this, it makes me jealous that I didn't have this growing up. And me being jealous makes me also proud to sit on this board, knowing that I was part of the reason that this happened. And because of the staff, because of our board, that we are making massive changes in the way that education is being presented, and that we are on the cutting edge of education here in Council Bluffs. One question I did have, we have 3 teachers doing this at each school. How are they being trained to tackle all of these different areas and be able to provide the instruction to each of the kids on everything that's involved. It seems like a lot of information to be trained on.
They did engage in intensive professional development over the summer provided from Paxton Patterson. So we are very thankful for the time and effort and dedication the staff has put in. But it is really set up in a manner of facilitation rather than teaching. So the teacher doesn't have to be the expert in all of these labs. They have very clear facilitation guides with prompting questions. They can see through the LMS on the back side all of the responses that the students are putting into the different prompts so that they are able to monitor the learning and progress without having to be a content area expert in 14, 28, 32, 42 modules.
Sure.
I do have to give a shout out to Kathy Schmedding. She's at home with the flu, but she is watching. But she was in all of these classrooms before the year started, spending full days, and then continued at the beginning of the school year to really help the teachers. The amount of materials that come with all of these modules can be a little overwhelming. So to be working side by side with them, she did a great job.
A couple times you mentioned LMS. What does that stand for? Sorry.
Learning
Management System. Oh, everyone knows. Oh, no.
Corporate world. I very much look forward to seeing how this completes at the end of the year, so we can have some feedback both from the teachers and from the students on what their experiences were, and to be able to see just the 6th grade cohort go through all the way and see how they end up at the end of 8th grade and how that transitions into their freshman year in high school and where they go with the pathways. So thank you again. It's exciting.
It is extremely exciting.
And the only district in the state to be doing this.
Okay. That brings us to a couple resolutions we have this evening. First up, we have approval of a new job description. I'll entertain a motion.
I move that the board approve the new job description for registered behavior technician.
Thank you.
A second?
A motion and a second. Any discussion regarding this new job description? Yes, please go ahead.
I just wanted to, for those watching, that this is not adding an FTE, but really it's reclassifying and renaming a paraeducator position to reflect some certification requirements we need for a specific special education placement. So this is just reclassifying and setting that classroom up for success for this one student.
Any further discussions? Questions? Mrs. Strowski, please call the roll.
Mrs. Greiner?
Yes.
Ms. Hardiman?
Yes.
Ms. Myers?
Yes.
Dr. Rosello?
Yes.
Mr. Tripp?
Yes.
Mr. Peters?
Yes.
Mr. Kozier?
Yes.
And the motion passes. Second resolution we have is approval for a following new job description number 2. Is there a motion?
I move that the Board of Directors approve the new job description for Director of School Safety and Security.
Thank you.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion regarding this new job position? Dr. Murillo, could you provide some insight on what this all entails?
Yes, as we continued as a cabinet talking about safety and security, and I was watching as John Stile and Tim Hamilton were absorbing more and more responsibilities around this. I even had a board member ask me a little bit about one of the cabinet members and how many more responsibilities he was taking on. I had already begun to look at his job description, knowing that we just kept adding to the plate. And this is a position that really at this time and where we are in this space, that we want to make sure we provide the safest environment at every building. And we really want someone that is focused on that every day. One thing that we want to make sure is we get more visuals on drills that are ran and giving feedback to our principals and our staff about how those drills are ran. And also allowing someone to work closely with our SROs. This person will still report to Tim Hamilton, but really just providing some leadership and expertise in the planning and development and implementation of all of our district kind of processes and procedures around school safety, while staying on the cutting edge of what's coming out new, how we can take things to next levels, and providing that additional feedback. This person will also help us with investigations and become that Title IX. So it is kind of really pulling it together and streamlining and being strategic around this and providing us that extra set of eyes and ears and expertise on this subject matter.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions?
I was kind of wondering what other districts of a similar size, like some of the UEN members, do they have this position as well?
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up. That is where the conversation, we were all talking about safety and security. And Fort Dodge, the superintendent there, really began to talk about how he moved from one, he was almost in that uncomfortable seat that I found myself in. And that was almost 2 years ago. He had had some different incidents. We haven't had those incidents, but as he began to share with the other UEN superintendents and he moved toward this director of safety and security, he laid out kind of a plan of what I had been looking for. So the one thing that I did is I pulled John and Tim in and had a meeting with them to share what I had learned in the UEN meeting. And both of them agreed this is the right next step for us at the same time. And they're about the same size district we are.
Thank you.
It just felt very logical as a next step, I think, and the description does a wonderful job of, I think, covering all those bases that really need to be.
Yeah, I feel like it
Good addition.
keeps our district's commitment to student safety.
Yes.
Has the job been posted yet?
Ms. Hardeman, the job cannot be posted until the board approves. Once the board approves, we will post
Post it?
tomorrow. Yes, we will.
So tomorrow.
Anything further from the board? Ms. Ostrowski, please call our roll.
Mrs. Greiner,
Yes.
Ms. Myers,
Yes.
Dr. Rosello,
Yes.
Mr. Peters,
Yes.
Mr. Tripp,
Yes.
Mr. Kozire,
Yes.
Ms. Hardeman.
Yes.
Yes, and now the job can be posted. The resolution passes. And that, my friends, closes our meeting for this evening. Thank you very much.